today's topic, as you can see, is one which is of, I thought, large interest amongst at least the academic community, but perhaps they're on their way. However, I'll ask Sneha, do you think we should kill some time before more come? Do you like, the bus to fill up before we start?
No, I think we
You want to start? Let's do that. Then I'll go and sit with the audience too.
Paper is Architectural Modernism in India through the lens of MARG. This talk explores the magazine MARG, which was founded in 1946 and is still ongoing, for the ways that it articulated several visions for modernist architecture and urbanism in India, and thereby inadvertently positioned itself like a manifesto for the futuristic possibilities of the nation state through a critical lens. MARG is seen here not merely as a carrier or a platform for debate on questions of what an Indian modern architecture should be expressive of, but more importantly as performing the complexities of this debate through the writings of its founder editor Mulk Raj Anand, position pieces put forth by several writers including the MARG group itself, and MARG's self-appointed vanguardist role in setting the terms of the debate. I try to argue here that in lieu of the missing or absent modernist manifestos on architecture, MARG effectively provided what can be considered a manifesto for modern architectural practice in India. The intent here is to open up MARG as providing a lens to the field, offering several perspectives, at times its own, at times others, perspectives that were at times absolute statements, at others unsure and contingent, and most often contradictory, but always well within the secular left liberal framework. Let me provide a brief historical introduction to MARG, although I'm sure this is something that many of you in the audience are familiar with. MARG, written in capital letters, was an acronym for the Modern Architectural Research Group formed by Mulk Raj Anand, along with a number of architects, such as, among others, the German architect and town planner Otto Königsberger, and Sri Lankan architect Minat de Silva, Bombay-based architects Minu Mistry and JPJ Bilimoria. Other than Anand, all other members of MARG were practicing architects and planners. That they decided to name themselves MARG is telling. Barring, as Anand notes in the first editorial, which is titled Planning and Dreaming, barring the happy coincidence of the word MARG with the Sanskrit word meaning pathway, right, which MARG took very seriously as its role, that is, as a pathway that would connect the diverse arts of the region. Many scholars have noted that the name MARG was inspired by and is a direct reference to the Modern Architectural Research Society, or the MARS group in London. The MARS group, founded in 1933, was, I quote, an association of architects and allied technicians united by a common belief in the necessity for a new conception of architecture and its relation to society. The MARS group was modeled after other such progressive independent architectural organizations formed in parts of continental Europe to support the practice of modernist architects and to represent the respective modernist practices of their nations at the International Congress of Modern Architecture, SEAM. The MARS group was then and today best known for its publication of a master plan for London in 1942. Its extensive campaign in favor of modernist planning ideals has, however, been retrospectively critiqued as occurring in the face of public indifference and the persecutions, real or imagined, inflicted by a hostile architectural establishment. Now, during his stay in the UK, Mulk Raj Anand is said to have met with the members of the MARS group, eventually becoming an active member of it. In that sense, we could say that Anand, before returning to India, had already worked with the notion that modern architecture formed a crucial part of the process of nations becoming properly modern. Let me elaborate. In its first editorial, Planning and Dreaming, MARG articulates a vision for newness, right? And for being part of one world. India, according to the editorial, is partaking of the spirit of internationalism, which is a byproduct of this post-war quest for peace and order. The editorial carries with it a confidence and belief in the role of science in order to achieve this.
By the time I came to MARG, MARG itself was going through an identity crisis because the Tatas were asking it to go fund itself, and so when you actually sit down and read the archive of his work, which is now finally here, thank goodness, what you realize is that within 3 to 4 years after its founding, it was Mulk who defined it. And I think one of the issues, because Mulk and MARG have now become these kind of, monuments of modernism.
So I think the talk was also an illumination of the fact that how something is imagined and then how it eventually is produced. Even for a house that is built, we know that what one imagines and what sometimes happens, you can't get the right kind of thing. The angle sometimes changes from what is in the elevation. And so I think that is the constant haunting that the discipline of architecture has to go through. So whether it's a perfectly planned city, there cannot be a perfectly planned city. There cannot be a utopia.